Talk a little bit about this Benghazi, the hearing on Capitol Hill on Wednesday. ABC has gotten a hold of 12 different versions of the talking points, and what they say, and this is good because now we've heard a million stories from the White House. They say the edits were made. Initially, it came from the CIA. They had the intel.
Linked it right to Al Qaeda, Al Ansar,
right.
Al Sharia.
The edits were made with extensive input from the State Department. The edits included requests from the State Department and references of the Al Qaeda group that Brian just mentioned be deleted, as well as references to CIA warnings about terror threats in Benghazi in the months preceding the attack. This is completely different than what Jay Carney was talking about when he said this.
The talking points that she used for those appearances that were provided by the intelligence committee, those questions have been answered.
Not exactly.
I think the biggest vulnerability to the Obama administration, indeed to the president himself, comes from the cover-up. It's never the crime, it's always the cover-up. If indeed, as these papers suggest very strongly, there was an intent to take a terrorist attack and morph it into something much more benign and spontaneous, then I believe that this is something that goes to the very heart of the integrity of the office. And I believe that first, the Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton, and then the President himself, as you walk up this food chain and find out who is responsible, this is a major, major deception. Now, I'm not going to go as far as Mike Huckabee and say it's an impeachable offense.
And he's not going to finish his term with Huckabee's.
Yeah, but I think that all of the impeachments, from Andrew Johnson to Bill Clinton, I was Richard Nixon.
You were against Johnson from the get-go.
From the get-go, when my 19th century self. I think it's the atomic nuclear option, and it should not be invoked here, and we shouldn't hardly be talking about it. But I do believe this will affect, in a meaningful way, Hillary Clinton's aspirations.
How could it not?
Well, because there seem to be some central questions that haven't been answered yet. This is a step in the right direction to getting answers about who actually revised the talking points. But, for example, who told the military to stand down and not go to help? We don't know that yet. You know, there are
the military question, and I was right here, and Eric Bolling was in the seat that Brian usually occupies, and we had that very very emotional confrontation. I think that the military's response, all I know is I've spoken to every military source I have, and they say that we could not have done more. But the question that haunts is the why didn't we try question. And I think that is something that will be a stain on our consciousness whenever we think of Benghazi forever.
Well, what about this stain? And that is, we heard Mr. Hicks a couple of days ago, and he was talking about how he said to one of his bosses, hey, why exactly did Ambassador Rice say it was the video? And then essentially he was told, you know, shut up. He gets demoted for the fact that a whistleblower, you know, tries to do the right thing, asks what went haywire, and then there's retribution from the federal government. That's despicable, and Hillary Clinton was running that department.
Despicable, Steve, but I would suggest that bureaucratic retaliation is something that happens every day in the federal government.
I know, but if we want whistleblowers to come forward,
well, there are
many laws classification
there are many laws that protect whistleblowers. Thank God we have made an evolution since the Nixon era. Hicks was a hero. He is coming forward now. We will listen. People will be, I hope, humiliated. I hope there is meaningful action taken. The investigation now has to continue until we find out who made the decision to make this a political kind of pablum rather than what it really was, a terrorist attack.
And it's all indicated. The fact that the UN ambassador, but the UN ambassador, Susan Rice, is making these statements. Not John Brennan, who's taking bows for bin Laden. No national security advisor, no Secretary of State. They send out Susan Rice to destroy her career. And now we find out that Victoria Nuland and Ben Rhodes are pushing for the sanitization of these talking points when conclusions were made the day after. And finally, just to say this, what was David Petraeus doing, allowing those changes to be made in the CIA document and then briefing the press off the record that we really think the video had something to do with it? What is the problem? Why would the CIA risk their reputation there?
That's a mouthful. I have to say it very briefly.
You have 30 seconds. You have 30 seconds.
Why didn't Mitt Romney say exactly what you just said during that third crucial debate? He could have won the presidency. Why? Was he briefed by David Petraeus and the CIA to suggest that there was a secret mission going on there, that we can't go there, we can't talk about it? I believe, and my sources tell me, they were there to round up those shoulder-fired surface-to-air missiles. They were going to hand those missiles over to the Turks. and the Turks were going to give them to the rebels in Syria. Right. It was like a Iran-Contra. Yep. I think that it merits gigantic investigation. It will all become clear, but I think
so. You're saying that David Petraeus lied to us to stay off the beaten trail?
I'm not sure that he lied. I think that he said he maybe exaggerated that the sensitive nature.